6 seasons and 1 film later, we've once again been invited into the lives of the beloved Corrales. The second film sequel to the cozy period drama is both needless but undeniably satisfying. Their world is one that seems free of consequence and logic. With the show and previous movies having given us definitive endings, a new era takes us back to characters who seem to be floating in an afterlife where worries seem to never truly startle them. Let's dive into the era we will all wish we were a part of. First up, the plot. The show begins with the sinking of the Titanic in 1912, and a new era finally takes us to the 1920s. Fans felt convinced that with the previous movie, Downton Abbey, hinting at Violet Crawley's imminent death, there wasn't much more to explore. A new era, however, chronicles her past, present, and future. The elegance the Crawleys are known for continues to charm us. We can't help but seek comfort in the familiarity of it all. That's what makes the lavishness of their lives, while we wipe soda and popcorn off our couches, bearable. This time, there are 2 separate storylines in play. Modernist has begun to finally materialize with this movie. The dowager, Violet, reveals to her family that she was left a sizable estate by a Frenchman she knew briefly in 1864. She decides to pass it on to her great-great-granddaughter, Sibby. This marks the beginning of the story. The current Marquis, living on the French estate, invites the Crawleys in a bid to question their claims to the villa. Lady Mary questions her grandmother as to why she did accept such a generous gift from a man she barely knew, to which the Countess sardonically remarks, "Do I look like someone who'd give up a villa in the south of France? We feel you, Violet, we feel you." Of course, Downton can't be ignored. The luxurious estate has begun to wither with time. Lady Mary, unable to acquire enough money for fixtures, allows a movie studio to shoot a silent film within Downton. Cocky film stars, production crew, and cameramen bedeck the wilting halls of Downton. Funnily enough, this part of the script may have been inspired by real-life events. The shooting location of Downton, Highclere Castle, belongs to Queen Elizabeth II's godson, who allowed the plot to be used for various reasons after realizing it was beginning to rot. Bellow's screenplay seems to be rushing people into hurried romances or the morgue. There's numerous couples paired off, and flirtations continue. The movie pleases us visually with children playing croquet and women looking splendid in fashionable dresses, allowing us to pretend that we too are rich and happy folks in merry old England. Next, an ode to the Hollywood classics. The movie is in part an ode to the beginning of talking movies. It borrows a plot point right out of Singing in the Rain. It takes an important aspect of movie history and the transitions the film industry has had to adapt into an interesting light. People who rode the bus to fame based on their looks suddenly found themselves without the vocal talents to sustain them. Laura Haddock, who plays the acclaimed silent actor in the movie, fits well into the old Hollywood charm that new era sells you. She also had great comedic timing. She finds herself in troubled waters when their production company informs the studio that they won't consider silent movies any longer and would have to add vocals. With the crew at Downton Abbey halfway through shooting, they find themselves having to lip sync and redo scenes with added dialogue and flair that the servants contribute to. There are numerous references and scenes about how voiceover work occurred during live performances. It name drops a couple of Hollywood classics, like the 1927 hit musical The Jazz Singer, and 1928's mastery in horror, The Terror, and even a fun quip about Charlie Chaplin. The Singing in the Rain storyline is bound to hit a nerve with hardcore critics because it undoubtedly is a fun look into how talkies were introduced. New movie, history slip-up. The glamour of early cinema is beautifully portrayed, but history buffs are sure to point out important slip-ups that were made. With the focus lying on the charm old Hollywood was known for, it understates the challenges transitions brought for studios and actors as they progress from silent pictures to talkies. When the studio learns it'll have to stop shooting their silent movies and there's puzzlement over its continuation, a sound expert presents himself at Downton Abbey. A lot of the focus lies on Myrna Dalglish's accent, which proves to be her biggest challenge as an actor, well versed with silent films. In reality, this was a huge deal for production studios back in the 20s too. They weren't familiar with new technology or microphone placements, and it took them a while before they developed a knack for lip syncing and including voiceovers. The much admired musical Singing in the Rain deals with these issues perfectly. The movie revolves around actors adapting to changes that audio recording brought. Simple mistakes like failing to speak directly into their microphones would result in reshoots. However, these repetitive mistakes were costly. What happened was the studio would end up with fluctuating pitches and at times would be inaudible recordings. Usually the studio wouldn't have the money to rehire and reshoot crucial scenes. In our whimsical and comfortable world of a new era, we find no such hiccups. The audio recorded here is static-free, audible, and clear as day. It doesn't even humor the thought of bad quality recordings and outdated technology that was essential to the early days of talking movies. The inexperienced actors easily understand the task at hand, manually sync their dialogues over the original reel, and face none of the debacles that our old Hollywood actors actors actually had to go through. Of course, they could have just been exceptionally intelligent set of actors, but let's not kid ourselves. Even Jack Barbers, the director played by Hugh Dancy, entertains these changes without complaints. Next, costume-shaped characters. As it goes, costume design is integral to helping actors play the part. With the storyline evolving in a new era, the trends and styles of the 1920s had to be precise. The movie brought contemporary yet accurate portrayals of the dresses and suits that slowly shaped the 30s. The characters were chic and stylish clothes that remind us of transformation taking place. Of course, a standout fashion moment in the Downton series was when Sybil wore flared pants that were considered a spectacle for those times. While nothing seemingly outlandish is worn in this movie, the looks are relaxed yet elevated. Belts, sleek trousers, and bohemian trends were a staple for Edith's character. One of the most stunning dresses worn in the new era is by Tom's wife, Lucy. Her wedding gown featured in the movie was inspired by a wedding dress in a 20s Vogue magazine. Now in other news, is Downton Abbey already in the works? We can agree that Downton Abbey is a guilty pleasure for most. A New Era garnered positive reviews and acclaim, so it's safe to say a third movie may very well be on the horizon. Julian Fellows hasn't issued a direct statement, but has led fans to speculate a third movie may be on the brink. He said if audience were receptive to the idea of their beloved Crawleys gracing their screens for the 8th time with a New Era, then a third part feels highly likely. Next, the Countess lives on. Well, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, might wonder if Violet Crawley continued to defy death. As expected, the Dowager Countess does die of old age at the end of A New Era. It's undoubtedly that Maggie Smith's portrayal of Violet Crawley was brilliant to watch. Her character's wry wit and judgments have made her the heart and soul of Downton Abbey. Could she make an appearance in the form of flashbacks or a ghost haunting a procession? Creator Julian Fellows said it's probable. He went on to point out how every time they've wrapped up filming, certain they were saying their goodbyes, they'd all be back in studios filming in 2 years' time. So, safe to say, Maggie Smith may grace our screens again as the imitable and hilarious Countess in a flashback scene. Without her presence, the show would be incomplete. Now, friends and expectations. Notable director Simon Curtis took on the mantle to direct the sequel. Having had decade-long friendships with most of the actors, he found himself extra cautious. Of course, being married to Elizabeth McGovern, who plays Cora in Downton Abbey, helped him understand the crafts and effort behind the acclaimed series. Having watched every episode, he said the pressure and enormity of working with Hollywood's elite actors forced him to work twice as hard. He stated, "No director has ever taken on a job with their eyes more wide open than I had mine." His efforts paid off though, as the movie grossed a whopping $16 million in the UK and soon took the US box offices by storm. He followed fans' comments and reviews on a daily basis, which assured him the movie was loved by those who'd been there from the start. We believe we'll see more of Simon's touch in future works surrounding Downton Abbey. That's a wrap for this video. What did you make of Downton Abbey: A New Era? Let us know in the comment section down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.